This should come as no surprise to anyone who follows the NFL. The relationship between Russell Wilson and the Broncos had been on thin ice since October, and it finally gave way with the team announcing Wilson will be released after the league year begins March 13th. Denver had to cut him before March 17th, when his $37 million base salary for 2025 would have become guaranteed. In all, cutting Wilson means the Broncos take on an $85 million hit in dead money, which they can spread out over the next 2 years. That's an NFL record, and that tells you just how badly they wanted to cut ties with Wilson, a player who had 3 years left on his $245 million contract. If you think about it, Russ has been chasing happiness on the football field for the last 4 years. It started at the end of the 2021 season when he went on a national radio show and threw his offensive line under the bus for failing to protect him. Head coach Pete Carroll called him into his office, and the only thing Pete would tell us in the media about that meeting was simply, some things need to stay in-house. Before the next season, Wilson was at it again. He wanted out of Seattle. His agent, Mark Rodgers, added some clarity, saying Wilson did not request a trade, but if a trade were considered, the only teams Russ would go to were the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. Remember that? The Seahawks did. They gave Wilson his wish. Sure, Pete said at the time, we have no intentions of trading Russ. But man, when those offers started piling up, how could the Seahawks pass on benefiting from what is now considered the worst trade in NFL history? The Seahawks got a haul for Wilson, and the Broncos basically got nothing. Wilson had his worst NFL season in his inaugural run in Denver under head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Russ requested his own office at the practice facility, as well as his own parking space and numerous other perks. 1 year later, Sean Payton came in as the new head coach and derailed that gravy train. They hadn't even had one practice together, and the relationship was on a downward spiral. Wilson had a huge presence on social media during the first year in Denver. He seemed to thrive on the attention, and that wasn't lost on Payton. He reportedly told Wilson to, quote, stop kissing all the babies. You're not running for public office. He wanted Wilson to focus less on his personal brand and more on the upcoming season. Once the season started, it only got worse for Wilson. Now, I'll give him credit. He took a lot of crap from his head coach and some of his teammates, but he played through it and still managed to throw for 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions. Payton still benched him in the final 2 games. Bottom line, Wilson had a forgettable 2 years in Denver. He would love to turn it around next season with a fresh start in a new city, but he will never recapture the magic he had during his Super Bowl seasons in Seattle. You can say the Seahawks enjoyed all their success because of the Legion of Boom and that outstanding defense. But let's not forget, Wilson delivered his share of clutch performances. There were too many to point out, but the NFC Championship game against the Packers is one where I would say check the tape, considering he got absolutely clobbered early in that game by Packers linebacker Clay Matthews and somehow shook it off to lead the Hawks to an overtime win and a trip to their second straight Super Bowl. In my mind, Wilson is one of the toughest quarterbacks I've ever seen. He took a ton of hits, big-time hits, and he just kept on going. Every athlete, no matter what the sport, man or woman, wants to end their career on a high note. Few get that chance, even the legendary Michael Jordan. For Russ, it wasn't going to happen in Denver, but here's hoping he gets another shot, maybe with the Raiders, so he can face Sean Payton twice a season. That will be worth checking the tape.